Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Tactical Leader. Today's going to be a solo cast with yours truly, talking about the takeaways I had from Kait McGregor, who you heard from this past Monday. She's, of course, going to be back this Friday for Tactical Friday, talking about the capabilities of With You, With Me. Before we begin, I'll remind you this show is brought to you by Nightly Productions. If you are looking to discover, embrace, and share your voice in tactical content delivery, if you want to create a podcast, a YouTube channel, or just get more marketing content out there, head over to nightly.productions to find out how we can help you do just that, help you find, discover, embrace, share your voice, and get your message out there further. Again, that's nightly.productions. The conversation I had with Kait was a great one. It's a really interesting one where this international company, introduction after introduction, kind of led us to each other, where they're really focused on a piece of the veteran world that is a passion project for myself, passion project for them, and something that highlights different aspects of veteran employment, military spouse employment, but beyond that, there's so many other aspects attached to this. And this was kind of an interesting part of the conversation that I really like, where I think a lot of veterans, we kind of forget that we don't really have a clue about things outside the military. A lot of veterans, you get trained in the military, all you know is the military, you know, the process, you know, the job, you know, the mission, but you kind of forget there's like so much more to the military than what are so much more to the world and what we were taught in the military. And I think there are pieces that we should highlight attached to what with me is doing, talking about the training portal they have, where they're training you on these virtual digital skills to help you further that and be a candidate that is actually interesting to organizations. I think a lot of times we forget how little we learn in the military attached to this type of this segment of the world. We forget that there are values that are things that organizations value that we don't learn. I've seen so many veterans that don't know how to use Zoom, don't know how to, use Microsoft Office. That's actually something I taught in Afghanistan to several of my soldiers. It was not just Microsoft Word, but Excel and PowerPoint and different aspects that they're not taught these days, things that are like necessary in the business world. So I definitely like that aspect of it. But beyond that, they almost did a almost seemingly better job of like matchmaking. I think this is an important piece to recognize. Like, you can go to this recruiting firm, but do they give a crap about you? Right? Are they going to help set you up for the most success that you could get? And I think this is an interesting thing that we have to recognize. Again, sometimes there are pieces of what we do as veterans that don't necessarily translate directly to the civilian world, but they don't not translate. You just have to be the one that translates it for the owner or for the founder, for the HR person. You have to translate it in the way that makes us most sense to them so that you can highlight these different aspects to them. And I think this is where we fail as a society in the veteran space, or as an organization in the veteran space. We want to make sure that we're doing those things exactly and we're able to get the training, but also know how to use the veteran. How do you go about hiring a veteran and optimizing their employment, optimizing what the military did teach them: leadership, team leading, discipline, mission success, task orientation, so many different aspects that I think we can really use a veteran to the greatest benefit of the organization, but also the greatest benefit to the veteran, and help them find that worth and value and purpose again. Because I think that's the biggest thing that we forget about the veteran world is like, we want purpose. We want to feel like we belong, but we also want a sense of purpose attached to the things we're accomplishing. So engaging a veteran in that and finding out what is it that purpose driven aspect of the individual is these days, I think is really fascinating. And then optimizing that for the success of others. We also had another aspect of the conversation that I found was really interesting, because I just went to this group, this organization that was talking about how workforces have to be in person. They have to be in person. And I kind of laughed thinking about the military skills and the leadership capabilities and how stifled they were in their innovation as leaders. Because the reality of it is, like, the military is the most diverse workforce, right? I had every walk of life, background, ethnicity in my 35 guys, right? I had so many different types of people, and we all had to accomplish the same mission. And then you think about how to communicate with everybody in that capacity, and how you have to communicate differently with a lot of people in that capacity. And then you have these industry leaders here in Atlanta that are saying, we got to have them on person. We got to be right here. We got to lead them this way, this way, this way. How is leading somebody through delegation any different than leading somebody through a virtual platform? I didn't quite grasp that. And that's something I would love to know y'all's feedback on. If y'all hear this and you want to reach out, like, how is it that it's different? Are we stifling ourselves as a society by not embracing the virtual? Are we embracing the virtual, and maybe it's just these older older executives are forgetting where they came from and how beneficial this could be for their employees, because they're not optimizing it the way they could to really create a really interesting workforce that is motivated on their own time to accomplish their mission. Lots of really interesting pieces there. So I'd love to hear some feedback from y'all. What is it that is holding us back? Is that holding us back? Is it not holding us back? Are we actually accomplishing this well in society? Or do you think we're fighting future trends? And we're going to chop this up a little bit more with Kait, because I think this is something that's awesome, and see how with me is actually achieving that. Because I think there's a great gift there overall that we can receive from this podcast, where we're hearing how innovation's happening. How is it that great things are happening in that capacity? And super excited. So come back this Friday. Let's hear a little bit more from Kait. And then, of course, if you didn't catch Monday's episode, head over, listen to Monday's episode and hear just the rundown of her passion behind things, how she's really driving forward with me, and why it's so darn important to her, because I absolutely loved talking with her. And then I will catch y'all this Friday.